The holidays have come and gone, and news of Hytale has been a bit quiet. That is, until today. My name is Codiak, and welcome to Hytale in 2020. Let's kick things off with some news. The team has said a few times now that the success of the trailer has allowed them to take freedoms and expand and push the limits of Hytale, and that means making changes at the foundational level. We kick off the update with a look at new rendering techniques for ice blocks, showcasing a bit of work in progress content from Zone 3. We talked about all of the other graphical improvements the team was working on in the last video, including real-time shadows, sun shafts, bloom, and some of the advancements in the water effects. It's clear that the team is taking graphics very seriously. Just in my brief experience with the Minecraft community, shaders were always a hot topic, and no doubt the Hytale team knows the potential for enhanced graphics in a block-based game, which is why they're putting so much effort into making the look and feel of Hytale something truly immersive. As a huge audio nerd myself with a background in sound design, I was incredibly excited to read about some of the ambient audio features being worked on in the game. Sound design for games have come such a long way over the last few decades, and it looks like Hytale's audio team is taking full advantage. I want to focus on the concept of dynamic audio, that is, the constantly changing nature of sounds based on a number of factors. The team achieves this by creating Ambient Zones, which set rules for audio properties. Things like weather, time of day, and walls are actually all factors when determining what sounds the player hears. Additionally, ambient sounds can be layered together to create new soundscapes that merge different audio ideas. The system looks at the block density around a player and makes calculations that determine the resultant sound. For example, an area with lots of tree blocks is more likely to be accompanied by the sound of wind in the leaves or branches creaking in the breeze. We also learned that ambient zones can affect one another, significantly changing what the player hears based on the relationship of the sounds. For example, a storm could cause all the birds in a given area to go silent. It's a great example of the level of detail across every system that the team is trying to pull off. Another change occurs when a player goes underwater. Fluids add a new layer to the audio experience, and different liquids will result in different sonic landscapes. Those environments play a huge factor in the overall immersion of Hytale. Torches emit small crackling noises, and deep underground, players can expect to hear the subtle shifting of rocks. Let's take a few seconds to listen to some of the soundscapes that players could experience on their adventures. Farming was also a highlight of this update. The team shared some exciting news that new crops have been added to the game, as well as new assets that illustrate the growing process from seedling to fully harvestable crops. Finally, and I don't want to sugarcoat this, animals can poop, and that poop can be turned into fertilizer to aid in the growth of said crops. Nothing like a little realism to really drive home the message. Before we say goodbye, I want to quickly touch on the smaller details of the post, not just the things that were written, but the things that we saw. At first glance, this image didn't really do much for me, but upon further inspection, there are actually a couple of really cool details to point out. First and foremost is the pick that the character is holding. We've seen picks before, but this one is clearly a much more detailed and intricate model than the one that we saw in the announced trailer. Now that could be for a variety of reasons, but the most logical ones are that the pick graphics have been upgraded, or that the pick is actually on a different tier from the trailer pick. It's not a mind-blowing detail, but something to think about for sure. Additionally, this image really showcased the blending of textures between blocks. This was covered in a blog post months and months ago, but it's a clear example of how the technology could work within a zone, adding more realism to the environment. Next, I had to bring up the Codiak nest. Zone 2 is still largely a mystery to us fans, but this insight is a fascinating dive into what could unfold in that zone. The slowly pulsating blue eggs are disgusting and visually off-putting, while the surrounding blocks with their slight honeycomb pattern really hit home the feeling of being in a hive. Now, shifting gears, how could we conclude this video without talking about the molten golem? This is not a creature we've seen before, but he certainly looks right at home in the molten environment. It's hard to form a complete picture of this creature, but the brief glimpse is definitely something to pay attention to. Finally, I wanted to touch on the farming sequence. I've said it before, but I'm 100% on board with farming in video games. I'm a sucker for it. It's nice that we finally get to see crop progression in the game, something that has been teased here and there over the past year. Lettuce, wheat, carrots, eggplant, and possibly potatoes, all through their various forms, give us an idea of the different stages crops will go through during their life cycle. I'd also like to point out the wheat blowing in the breeze, injecting just enough life into the scene to make you feel like the environment is somehow part of that farming process. The team has stated that more is coming over the next few days on Twitter, so don't forget to check back for more news. We're excited about Hytale in 2020 and plan on covering every second of development, so don't miss a thing. Like and subscribe to the channel and never miss out on a second of Hytale news. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legion Gaming, thanks for watching and play on.